I'm Scott Adams from Lifestream Massage School, and today I'm going to demonstrate the strokes for what we call the Lifestream massage. We start this massage with our client face down. We undrape them down to about the middle of the sacrum, and we'll start by just effleuraging on some oil. So you want to start this massage with just a nice, beautiful, flowing effleurage. Just spread the oil around and just to relax and reassure your client. And once you have some oil effleuraged on the person, then we're going to start. The first stroke is a crossover stroke. This is stroke number 1. And it goes like this. I'm going to break this stroke into the hands separately. So your outside hand would start here, just a little bit below the tip of the scapula, the inferior tip. And this hand just glides along the outside edge of the scapula, and then it comes around on the deltoid. And when you're doing this stroke with the outside hand, you want to make sure that you don't grind over what's called the acromion process, the tip of the spine of the scapula here. You don't want to be grinding on any bones. The inside hand, the trick to this is to start with the back of the hand on the side of the neck, okay? And you can just press in gently and lift. And see, already I'm starting to put a stretch into the muscles on the side of the neck. So I just lift, and as I come up on the shoulder, the hand spins. So again, it's like this type of a motion. And you want to maintain a nice, firm, even, broad contact as you make this transition from the side of the neck onto the shoulder, and then we're just running down the paraspinal muscles, and then onto the upper part of the sacrum. So you put these two strokes together, and it looks like this. Okay, and we can do 2 or 3 of these, and then we'll go on to stroke number 2. Stroke number 2, then, I'm going to step around from the head of the table to the side of the table, and the stroke is another crossover stroke, and it looks like this. Basically, the top hand kind of nestles in down here at the base of the neck, okay, and it works along the top of the shoulder, okay, and the outside hand starts on the side, the lateral part of the torso, and comes in and stops at the spinous process. So you're getting this type of a motion, okay, and then we just take this stroke and we're going to work down the torso, okay. And you want to sink in and then move. And as we come off of the scapula in this area and onto the rib cage, then what you want to try and do is pick up the angle of the ribs with your knuckles so that your knuckles are actually just gently pressing into the intercostal spaces. And we'll just bring this stroke down to where the connected rib cage ends, which is about roughly 2/3 of the way down the torso. You'll feel it when you get there. And then we're going to just work our way back up again. And then the last stroke will be again up on top of the shoulder, so that one hand's working above the spine of the scapula, which is here, and the other hand's below, just crossing over. Okay. So we can basically do one pass all the way down the rib cage, all the way back up to the top, and then we'll go on to stroke number 3. Number 3, we're back at the head of the table, and stroke number 3 is called a chaser stroke. And basically start out one hand's going down the paraspinal muscles, the outside hand comes in behind, and this one hand comes back behind the other hand, and you just glide all the way down onto the sacrum. Okay? And again, starting this stroke, I start with my inside hand, just as I did on the first stroke, and I lift up along the side of the neck and then turn. Again, it's this type of a motion here through this area, the medial part of the trapezius. Okay, and then we just continue this stroke on. After we've run maybe 3 or 4 passes down the paraspinal, we'll just continue this stroke on into the upper gluteals. This is an area where people tend to get a lot of tension. So we'll work into the gluteal muscles here, and we'll work along the edge of the upper sacrum with chasers. And this is stroke number 4. Okay, and then we'll go on from here to stroke number 5. 5, we call this a C stroke, and there's 2 parts to it. And the first part is I've come around again at the side of the client. I'm facing the head of the table, and I'll bring my client's arm up. If they're flexible enough, I'll place their arm in the small of the back. Okay, and with the other hand, a lot of times I'll reach up under the shoulder so I can kind of lift the scapula up here and get some control of the shoulder. And then I'm going to make a C with my inside hand here, and I'm going to drag my thumb up along the inside edge of the scapula, and I can come up to the tip of the scapula, and then I can rake back with these fingers. I can rake across the top of the shoulder, pulling back. And then again, I can work with my thumb goes up, and then I rake back. And if you want, if they have enough flexibility, you can get back in here under the scapula. You can kind of put a stretch on these muscles. Okay, and then I can rake back. So it's thumb up, rake back. Thumb up, rake back. Okay, and when you're finished with that stroke, then the first part of this, number 5, you can place their arm back on the side of the table or off the edge. And then I'm going to come around to the head of the table again, and I'm going to make a C with my inside hand, and I'm going to work down the other way. Okay, only this time I'm just going to glide down and release. Glide down and release. And then if you want, you can take your outside hand and put fingertip onto the thumbnail. This is called a reinforcement. That'll give you a little more strength that way. Okay, and we're just working through these muscles between the spinous process and the inside edge of the scapula. This is an area where people get a lot of tension, the kind of upper mid-back in here and top of the shoulder. Okay, so those are the two C strokes for number 5. Now we'll go on to number 6. For stroke number 6, we're going to use what we call a switchblade, which is basically you just poke the top of your thumb here above your index finger. So you sort of make a fist, and then your thumb comes out. And you want to make sure that the joint, this middle phalangeal joint here in the thumb, has got support. You don't want your thumb hanging way out in space so that you put a lot of stress on this. You want to support that joint. And then your hand, it just nicely fits in here on top of the shoulder. And this is, of course, our outside hand. And then we're just working up through this area of the trapezius, levator scapula muscle, the splenius, into the side of the neck. And we're covering this whole area here from the acromion process here at the shoulder. You'll feel this boniness. And you'll come all the way along, up the side of the neck, to the occipital area. And there's a lot of little places here. If you find some kind of knots, you can stop and play if you've got some tight areas. You can make this stroke little short back and forth movements. Or you can make it broad, going all the way. And again, to get a little extra help, you can reinforce with your other thumb, and it's fingertip to thumbnail. And this is a stroke, we call this stroke a freestyle stroke. You can just kind of take your time here, if you want, and just kind of play, find any little areas of tension, and work on those. So that is stroke number 6. Now we'll go on to the final stroke for the back. Number 7 is an elbow stroke, and I generally start this stroke out. I'm sitting on the side of the table, even with the client's hips, and then I just lay my forearm down on the back, and I'm palm up, okay, and I'm working up next to the spinous process. Okay, you can feel all the spinous processes. Here are the little bumps from the vertebra. You don't want to be on those. You want to be next to those. So the bone of the elbow is gliding up the back. And say if my fist is the elbow, you can feel the side of the elbow bone as it passes by all the little spinous processes like this. Okay. So you just lay your forearm down, and then you glide up through all these paraspinal muscles. And you go all the way up to the base of the neck. And then you can either stop or you can glide off the shoulder here, this inside edge of the shoulder. Okay, and again with this stroke, part of the trick of this stroke is you don't want to get too far forward so that you have to use a lot of arm muscle to pull the stroke along. You want to get behind the stroke so that your body weight's coming down into the elbow and pushing the stroke forward. It's a lot easier to do that way, and it feels better to the client when you have a nice strong connection there through your body weight. So that's the first part of the stroke, and then the second part of the stroke is I come around again to the head of the table, and with my inside arm, I start on top of the shoulder, and I glide down. And of course, the more pressure you use, the slower you want to do this stroke. And then you can just come onto the sacrum and then release. And then come back up to the top of the shoulder. You just kind of nestle your forearm down in next to the spine. And just glide. You want to work very consciously when you do this stroke. You want to make sure that you're next to the spinous processes or even away from the spinous processes. And you want to keep an eye on your client to make sure you're not using too much pressure. So these are the strokes for the upper back, and then from here we're going to go down and we're going to work on the leg. We finished up with the one side of the back here, so we're going to drape that, and then we're going to come down to the leg here, and I usually just fold the sheet back and then I kind of tuck it in and bring it back, and then I'm going to do a nice effleurage on the leg and the glute and even on the bottom of the foot. Okay, so I'm just getting everything nicely effleuraged, nicely oiled. Now I'm ready to do the leg. So the first stroke on the leg is I'm going to make a horseshoe shape here with my hand, and the trick with this stroke is to bend the fingers, okay? And I'm going to use my thumb and the middle knuckle of my index finger and just straddle the heel here, and this part of the stroke, the top hand, is just kind of pinching back and forth. And pinching's not really the best word, it's just more of a glide with a little bit of pressure. And this is really nice. You can work in along the calcaneus, the heel bone. You can work back up here, kind of get on either side of the Achilles tendon, work down below the ankles, like that. And the other hand will be working along the bottom of the foot. Bottom hand is just going to glide down the sole of the foot here. Okay, like this. You can cover the kind of outside edge of the sole. You can cover the inside edge. You can kind of roll your knuckles into the arch a little bit, get a little bit of a bite. Okay, and you put these two hands together, it makes a really beautiful stroke. People really like this. Okay, the stroke looks like that. Now for the second stroke, usually what I do is I like to sit down as much as possible while I'm doing massage. So I'll just sit on the side of the table here, and we're going to use our thumbs, what we call the little switchblade again, and we're going to work up the lower leg here behind the bones. So this stroke I'm working up behind the fibula, and I usually start just behind the ankle bone, the malleolus, okay? And I just come gliding up behind that bone. Now this may be fairly intense for some people, so you have to kind of pay attention to how much pressure you're using. Okay, so it's a glide up and release, glide up and release, glide up and release. And so we're covering an area, it's kind of this quarter of the cylinder of the leg. were behind the fibula that were in the side of the Achilles tendon. So all through this area, people get real tight in here. We're working the soleus and some of the extensors and flexors. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the inside of the leg, just exactly. I'm working along, I'm tracing behind the bone. As you come up the leg, you may lose the bone if the muscle tissue is real deep and real developed. But now I'm kind of working this quarter of the cylinder of the leg, and that is behind the internal malleolus, the medial malleolus, and alongside of the medial edge of the Achilles tendon. So I'm working this strip of the calf muscle in here. Okay, so that's the second stroke. And then the third stroke is we're just going to do our little friendly chaser strokes here. Up the back of the leg. Now if somebody's got a long leg, then you might want to stand up here, bring your body up so you can get into the hamstrings a little better. You want to just make this slow and graceful, very even. You might want to also release your pressure just a little bit as you go across the crease here behind the knee, the popliteal crease. Okay, so that's the third stroke. Now we'll go on to the fourth stroke. Stroke number 4 for the back of the leg is what we call a horseshoe stroke again. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do like a contrary motion back and forth here. It's a transverse stroke across the leg. And we're just going to work our way up. Be careful that you don't grind across the bones in the knee. Okay, and you work your way up to the top of the hamstrings, and then you work your way back down to the calf muscles. Again, I'm sort of gliding across the knees. Now, a couple pointers about this stroke. Your inside hand, whichever hand comes over to the inside of the leg, what I usually do is I pick up the leg tissue with these knuckles, okay, with this set of knuckles, okay, and you get a lift on the leg tissue like this. And then as you come onto the top of the leg, you slide onto your second set of knuckles, the larger knuckles. Okay, so again, I come across with this hand. You can see I'm on the sort of first set of knuckles. Then I slide onto my larger knuckles. Now the top hand, same thing. So I can actually lift. I get a stretching kind of action here as I start this stroke, as I start the glide. And then I'm pressing down as I come across, and then I get this lift again. So it really works these muscles. And I get this lift. Another trick with this stroke, you have to be careful if your hands are too close together. Sometimes you want to leave a little bit of room between them. Otherwise, you'll make a little bit of Indian burn, depending on the client's skin tone and whatnot. Okay. And then as I come across the knees, I'll sort of, usually what I do is try to glide across at an angle. Don't go straight down and try to dig your knuckles into the head of the tibia and fibula. That'll be uncomfortable. So I kind of glide across those at an angle and then proceed back down. So we're cross-fibering all these muscles in the back of the leg. And then we end up, we come back to the gastroc, and now I'm going to work my way up one more time. Okay, and I'll work my way up to the gluteal. That'll take us to our next stroke. Picking up with our horseshoe strokes up to the glute, and now we're going to do crossovers on the gluteal. And we're doing these strokes at approximately the angle that the tissue is running, which is about 45 degrees. Here's the spine. The muscles come off about 45 degrees this way. So we're just going to go parallel with the angle of the tissue and work our way up through the gluteal muscles. And remember, like the gluteus major comes down, all the way down, and merges into, like part of it merges into the iliotibial band next to the tensor fascia lata, all that. So bring your stroke, you want to follow the edges of those muscles. And some people you won't be able to feel them, some people you will. But make the strokes complete so that they come all the way around onto the hip. Okay, and this crossover stroke comes up to the level of the iliac crest. And then from here we go to the second stroke. We have a double fist, and we just glide off the sacrum into the deeper tissue, and we're just making circles. Okay, and you can kind of work, you can make small circles and work into like the minimus and medius up close to the top of the hip. You can work around the trochanter. And just basically you want to just really thoroughly work this muscle. Just very thoroughly working the whole gluteal muscle system with these big round gliding movements. And you notice too, we're kind of moving the muscle around. We're sort of pumping the muscle and getting stretches on it, as well as sinking in and applying some pressure to the tissue. Okay, and then from this stroke, we're going to go to our finishing stroke for this half of the body. And what I do is I'll have one whole entire half of the body undraped. I bring the arm up onto the table, and I'll start down here at the heel, and we're just going to do one long, huge effleurage. We're going to come all the way up the body, around the shoulder, down the arm, and then from the hand I make a nice transition back onto the leg. So this is a finishing stroke. It kind of integrates everything, kind of brings everything together. It's kind of like, oh, nice soothing finish to all of this. Okay, and we can end up just gliding off the sole of the foot, and then we can redrape our client, and from here then we would go on to the other side of the upper back and lower leg and do that side of the body. Okay, now we've finished up the other side of the back and the back of the leg. We've turned our client over and we're ready to start on the front of the body, and we're going to start with the arm. Okay, and we're going to effleurage on some oil nice and thoroughly. Going to get up on the side of the neck. Okay, and our first stroke is I lift the client's arm up, okay, so that the humerus is just 90 degrees to the table. It's just up like a flagpole. And then I put the hand across to the opposite side of the neck, okay. And this stroke, we're going to start here. We're using the fist, and we're going to work all the way around the upper arm. And again, you can kind of straddle the humerus between these two knuckles. Anytime you have like bones, you can straddle those bones. That way you won't rudely grind across them. So we're going to work around the upper arm, kind of getting in the plane of the muscles here. Okay, so I've worked maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe as many as 4 strokes. Then I'm going to switch hands. I'm going to go to the other hand and just continue working around. Now I'm kind of into the triceps area. You want to try to work all the way down, around to the all the way into the table even. Okay. Now for the second stroke, we're going to take the arm out of this position and we're going to bring it up like the Statue of Liberty, shall we say. Now some people won't have the mobility in their shoulder or elbow joint to lay the arm down flat. Some people, this will be it. This will be as far as you can go. There's no internal external rotation here of the humerus. So what you have to do, if somebody's limited in their range of motion, and this is as far as they go, you can place a big pillow under here, and I always keep pillows handy so you can do this stroke. Now we're going to do a crossover stroke here, and it's going to be a crossover. We're going to use this line, the cubital crease here inside the elbow, this crease, and one hand starts distal to the crease, the other hand proximal up the arm. Okay, and we're just going to cross over. If the arm flops around a little bit, if you want to stabilize it, you can bring your leg up there. Okay, so I was starting this way. Now I'm just going to switch positions and I'm going to go the opposite direction. And again, when you're working around bones, okay, such as here on the medial epicondyle, again, you can just glide through. I'm going to straddle, this is the ulna here, I'm just going to straddle that with my knuckles. So one knuckle's just gliding right through here between these bones. It's very graceful, it's very thorough, and it feels pretty good. A lot better than if you try to crunch on the bones. Yuck. Okay, so from here then, we're going to bring the hand down and leave a little crook in the elbow. And we're going to go the other way. Again, we're using this part, this is sort of the dorsal part of the cubital crease here. We're going to use that as our point of crossing over. One hand's above, one hand's below, and you just cross at the crease. Okay, and then you can switch, and you can go the other way. Okay, and then from here, we're going to go and work on the neck a little bit. Okay, so now I am kneeling next to the client's side here. You could also possibly sit on the edge of the table. And I'm going to work into the side of the neck. Usually I'll take my inside hand and sort of, you can pull down on the shoulder a little bit if you want. And it kind of opens this area up, this trapezius and scalene sternocleidomastoid. So I'm going to just make our little switchblade here with my thumb. And this is a really nice little stroke. You can just go to town. You just kind of follow edges of the muscles. You can work way back on the side of the neck, especially if they move their head away. And you can work here into the side. Now usually for this stroke, I don't work medial or inside this edge. Here's the sternocleidomastoid. The head of the clavicle is right here, the medial head. Here's the sternocleidomastoid. You can see it very well here, running up to behind the ear. So I usually stay behind this line when I'm doing this stroke. So I'll work maybe up this much. That's about it. You know, if you feel any little knots or little planes of tension, then you can stop. You can hold. You can cross fiber on those little spots. And again, it's a kind of a freestyle stroke. You can just work all through the side and to some degree anterior onto the neck. And of course, right below the occipital here, that's a really nice little area to get into. Okay, and keep in mind too, you can take your client's head, you can move it around. If I bring their head to a neutral position here, so they're looking straight ahead, these muscles are a little looser, they're a little softer. Maybe I can get in through them and go a little bit deeper. If I turn the head to the side, then I could get into the back of the neck. There's a little bit more of a stretch on the muscles. They're going to be affected differently. Okay, and after I've worked this area, then what I'll do is I'll come around and I'll sort of shovel up the scapula. So I take one hand at a time here, and I kind of reach up under and see if I can even grab the inside edge of the scapula. Now this hand is going to work back under the back, and I'll demonstrate that. Okay, you just reach in under like that. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to caution you against trying to hold the person up with your fingers like this. That's going to hurt. You just leave your hand flat and you just curl your fingers up a tiny bit. And what we're going to do is we're just going to cross fiber. And a lot of people, if you feel tension in the back, it'll feel like little guitar strings in there. It'll feel grainy. And you're just going to go, just click back and forth across those tissues. And then you're going to rake up. And then you're going to cross fiber. And then you're going to rake up and cross fiber. So from the outside, see my hands just laying flat on the table. Their body weight is pressing my hand against the table. I'm just curling my fingertips slightly. I'm going back and forth, clunk, 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 across these paraspinal muscles. Now I'm going to rake up, and then I'm going to cross fiber, and then I'm going to rake up and cross fiber, and then I'm going to rake up and cross fiber, and then I'll just come out. Okay? And you can do a few passes with this. Again, if you're working on a large person, they have a very, say it's a bodybuilder, a male bodybuilder, they have a very heavy shoulder. Again, you have to kind of take it one step at a time and sort of pry the scapula up off the table. And then just the width of your hand should be enough to let your other hand get up under there. So you're not having to lift them up. It's not a lot of strain or work like that. It should be easy to just slide in there. Let their body work, their body weight do the work for you. Okay, so those are our 2 strokes for the neck. From here we're going to go down and finish up on the anterior leg. Okay, so now I'm effleuraging the leg here, the anterior leg, and the foot again. And the first stroke that I'm going to do, again, a lot of times I like to sit on the edge of the table here. And it's going to be crossovers on either side of the patella. Okay, so we're going to go over the knee. One hand starts above, one hand starts below the knee, and then you just cross over the knee. Okay, and you want to extend your stroke down here into the PET muscles and the lower leg, and extend your stroke up into the quads. Okay, and then I'm going to reverse the strokes. This hand's going to be above, this hand's below, and we'll go the other way. And that allows me to very thoroughly cover this area. Okay, now for the second stroke, I'm going to go back to this horseshoe stroke, and I'm going to start above the knee. And this is just like we did on the back of the leg. We're lifting the muscle, and then we're doing a stretch across, parallel to the fibers, transverse across the fibers. Okay, and when I get up towards the groin area, what I do is I'm going just 90 degrees perpendicular to the bone. I start to go at more of an angle, okay, to conform to the inguinal crease here. And that allows you to cover more of the leg without getting too invasive. Okay, so I work up, then I come back down to the knee, then I'll work back up again. And you want to go pretty much all the way around to the table on both sides. So in other words, your hand goes all the way to the table and then lifts, and then all the way down to the table, then lifts all the way down to the table. So I just bring that stroke up, and I'll go into the next stroke, which is what we call spinners. And I just place my hands next to each other, parallel, and I spin. And as I come around, it opens. Clunk. Okay? So we can work down the quads with this stroke. And this stroke's nice for getting into all these big muscles, the quadriceps here of the upper leg. And again, notice I have my hands, they're not right next to each other, but they're apart. And sometimes you can even kind of grab the edges of the rectus femoris muscle here and just spin and open. Spin and open. And even come around on the side of the hip a little bit. Down to the knee. Okay, and from here, we're going to do a stroke that I call the thumb spinners. And I basically just take my hands parallel like this, and I'm going to go in circles with my thumbs. So they're going in contrary motion, circular movements. And this is cross-fibering all the PET muscles here on the lateral and the anterior lower leg. So I'll work down to the ankle. I'll work back up. And I'll work my way back down again. You can make several passes between the ankle and the knee. Then I'll come on down to the foot, and I'm going to finish up here with a stroke we call the foot sandwich, which is the top hand is just going to glide up the top of the foot. It's kind of like you're petting the top of the foot, you know, nice foot. Okay. And the bottom hand is going to go along and just kind of carve through, glide through the bottom of the foot. Okay, so it looks like this. And this is just kind of a very nice finishing stroke. Although still, it allows you to get fairly deep into the sole of the foot. And again, then we can just finish off nice big long effleurage, just to kind of complete everything, bring it together, come off at the toes. And then from here, we would go on to the other side of the body, doing the arm and the front of the leg. Okay, so this completes our demonstration tape for the Lifestream massage.
massage the arm. This is where I was at. And now keep on coming. Slide the right hand down to the scapula and pull. And lift the arm. That's right. So you can, that's it. That's it. That's that monkey style we're doing. That's it. Let me close elbow a little bit. That's it. Yep. And you can just pull right down to his hip. That's it. Feels like you really stretched him up. Now put up your other leg. Yes. And kind of pull him up against that. That's it. You can lean the knee right against his shoulder there. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Good. And then bring it back down. It's always good to check. Oh, you got it right off the table. You might have to bring it back the other way. Good. Just dropped it. Then just drop down the leg a little bit just to say hello. And now we're doing the intermediate, so we're shaking it and waving it as we go down. It's the tway on, 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 tway on. Now, on up, on up, on up, on up, on up. And you lift the wrist, so it's like a rocking and rolling. It's like rowing a boat. You swing the elbows. Excellent. And then the mo, na 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 na. Mo, na 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 na. That's mo now. We'll do the cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, and then we'll start up with the joint exercises. So rock them side to side, side to side, side to side. Now lean back and go cha, cha, shake, shake, slip to the knee, cha, cha, shake, shake, slip to the ankle, cha, cha, shake, shake, off of the sock, cha, cha, shake, shake, off with the undersock, and you reach behind the knee. Now, in the basic class we did a rotation, so we do that always. But now we're going to put our hand on top of the foot and push it down to the side. And we'll walk our way up. This makes us bigger. This means we feel a larger part of the person. In the first class we came in here and pressed. And we went up the back a few different times. But this time we're going to hold the inside of the knee from here and pull out. So I'll do it first. We rock the gallbladder 30. We rock this area here, the urinary bladder 48. We rock this area of the hip and sacrum and the buttocks to loosen it. My hands on the inside of the knee. I drop the ankle away from me. I swing the knee up 90 degrees, and then I reach and push. 45 degrees, 45 degrees. And I bring it back. And I push down and across. Sorry. Try that. Ah. Reach across. That's it. Good. That's it. That's good. Put your knee. Whoa! Put your knee on the table if you have to.
That's the table.
No, she was doing okay. It just
Okay.
seemed like it. So you on the table, it seems like the whole table's going. And just lift it up. That's it. Seems like the whole table going. That's why we pull. So you kind of pull while you push. There you go. Now swing it up 90 degrees all the way up. Very good. Very good. Right. Now bring it all the way up to the shoulder. Easier said than done. So you lift up that left forearm a little bit. That's how you lift up and you reach for his back. Yes. Yes, you've got his back. And he's a large enough muscular person so that you're really doing a good stretch there. Yes. Yes, that's it. That's all you're just kind of lifting up that elbow area, just kind of pushing your shoulder down towards him. That just gives him enough compression. Then bring it back down and pump it, just like you're doing. Bring it back down. And then bring the ankle off to the side like you did. That's it. And then just bring it down first like this. Just when I pump it. Once you've done that, once you've brought it down, then we're going to take the leg. Let me do it this time and bring it back down for a second. I swing it up here first. I bring it back here. I bring it up here further. I'm going to reach over the top this time. Is your back going to survive this?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
See what I did? Put my hand on top. So I went from here to here. Now I'm going to here. Whoops. You get to try that. Good back. Do you want to try that on that side? You didn't do what I just did. I got a new move. But you might not have done. Now come around. Now that hand goes under and on top of the thigh. There. Now reach for shoulder. First you bring your hand on the inside there, and you swing the leg over, swing the knee up here. And now that hand goes underneath on top of the thigh. Under here. There. Now pull. Is that a little different? It's a little different. It seems lighter. That way you won't fall off. The knee will keep falling on your side. So you won't fall off the table that way. And bring it back down. Now once it's down, we've done a couple moves. We're here, and back. We added this move here, which we can use a lot. And now the next move is we reach across and we let the leg fall. You push down, and let it fall. Like yourself, letting you fall. And then we beat them fiercely. And then we bring it back. Now the second time, I swing my elbow across. I don't want them to fall, so I do that hugging again. And I'm lifting. I lift the kneecap if I can. And I push. The third movement, I pull. Try it back, that's it. Now slide your elbow across. Right up on the table. That's it. You're going to be so strong after this. So you get your elbow right on the other side of his leg. Over here. There you go. And for him, this is quite a twist. And just pull his back so he doesn't fall right off the table. And then you let the leg fall. Just keep him on the table. There you go. And you push down the leg. That's the easiest stretch. That's it. And then you can swing your hand underneath here and bring it up. And you kind of bring your hands together on this side. There you go. I'll just shake it. And you'll find ways that are easier than that. If you get off the table, it might even be easier at this point. There. And then bring it back down. Very good. You guys are getting this down. You're not even sweating as much as I am. Well, no, not quite. So then we're going to reach for the opposite leg. Just feel stronger. Remember the gorilla. Well, I reach across the opposite side knee. And I roll over. I stretch around the corner. I drop the leg down. Then I come back and I pull on the hip and I pick up the knee. And I walk up towards the hip. I can grab my hand and pull it. Sorry about your back.
That's all right.
And I can hold it here and press. Good old injuries there.
I got one.
Good old injuries. Good. Now, hold them up and walk up towards the head. Pull the hip towards you, and swing it like that, and now walk up towards the head. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Very good. And then bring it back down. Return the foot to the owner. You have to push him over. He almost came right over. Very good. Now there's one more move that we didn't do earlier. It's called get thee behind me foot. So we take the foot and we wrap it behind us. And we wrap it. Go down. That's it. And then you hitchhike it. Now the free hand goes under the kneecap. And you do another arm bar. The hand is wrapped and then you lift. Now press down with your elbow on the thigh. Take out your arm from the arm bar and just walk up his back. And then come back down again.
It does a nice stretch in here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a very nice press. Feel that?
Oh, yeah.
See how now you're pushing with your right hand. Okay, yeah, keep the foot behind you. Is the foot still down to your shoulder? Oh, well now push. Put your foot behind my shoulder as I walk up the back. See how I'm kind of pushing here? So I'm stretching the leg away. Stretching the leg away. See how I have the heel behind me? I have the heel behind you. Yeah, now you got it. Much better. Doesn't it feel like you're going to make them yell? Ready? So this is a good move, and you can reach to the opposite side and pull as well. This is a very good move. It really helps people with slow back. Then again, we lift.
He's kind of tender right there.
And then we return the foot to the owner. Very good. Should we do that in their other leg? So come around to the other leg and we'll just do it a little bit more easily, now because you're experts at this. You brush down the leg to let them know you're there. We're just going to start with the new moves. So the new moves, we come all the way down to the leg, and we're going to start off with the lifting and bending. I like to start with the cha-cha-cha, so I'm going to start with cha-cha-cha. It's that cha-cha-cha-cha, squeeze onto the leg. So we'll start at the hip. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, squeeze to the leg. Cha-cha-cha-cha, squeeze onto the ankle. Push the tendon, push the tendon, push the tendon, push the tendon. Squeeze onto the toes. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Push onto the toes. Now we're ready for the next section. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Side to side to side to side, side to side to side to side. Then we push in, and we pull. Push, push, pull, and one more, push, and pull. Again, holding the toes, one hand slides down and twists. The other hand grabs the toes, slide down and twist. Then the ankle, up and down, kidney 3, urinary bladder 60, all of that are good points, lots of interesting points. And then side to side. We're holding all points around the ankles. Kidney 6 and urinary bladder 62. All these interesting points. Liver 5, liver 4, gallbladder 40. And now push in, and out, in, and out. And then in and out. Ride down your shoulder, twist and grasp. Ride down, twist, and pull. Good. Now the knee, right along. Side to side, to side, to side, to side, to side, to side. Up and down, up and down, up and down, and up and down. Then in and out. One hand goes underneath. For this little kneecap. You slide the other hand down, you pull the lower hand, and you push with the upper. The other hand goes under the kneecap. You slide, pull, and push. Get a good grip. This is more of a grip. The gorilla, the monkey, the bear. A lot more holding this time. Now the hip. Oh boy, the hip. We're going there. We're almost done, these folks. Side to side, to side, to side, to side, to side, to side, to side. Then up and down. Now, in and out, and in and out, and in and out. Then the hand goes under the thigh, right up near the hip. The other hand slides down and pushes on the buttocks. You pull the thigh and you push the buttocks. Then the other hand goes underneath, grabs right up on the outside of the thigh. You slide down and you push and pull. I feel like you're almost lifting them right up. Good. That gives you a real feel. Well, let's do something more. Let's lift them up. Shake out their foot. Now on the other side, we did some interesting things. We can do them on this side. So we just bring the foot down to the side, and then you slide down on the inside, come up, and push 3 angles. Come back and pull. Then come up to the shoulder. So I'm always lifting. And it's a loose lift. And push and then come back. That's it. And as you get used to that, you can push right through and pull right back. So it opens up the lumbar sacral region, so you really active lumbar sacral area. And you pull the leg down. Yes. And then right up to the shoulder. Yes. Good. That's it. Yeah, that's it. So you're kind of lifting up. That's it. And you grab his back a little bit with your right hand. That's it. just kind of push down and move. Very good. So those are the first two moves. We brought it up and we brought it up. Now we're going to push it to the opposite side. We brought it up and we brought it up, sorry. We come back and I reach with one hand and I'll let the leg hang. I'll let the leg hang. That's the easiest. Pull and hang. Then I bring the leg and the person back a little bit, make sure they don't go too far. Put my elbow. And I pull. And I drop my hands on my wrist. And when I come back, want to try that? That's it. Let them push. Yes. And just letting them hang allows the body to open by itself. And of course, ourselves, we're always loosening ourselves up. Shake a leg. When you shake your legs, you'll notice a lot of difference. That's it. This side very easy, nice soft too. Slip it open. Put that elbow right across. Now you can lift. Oh, very good, very good. And swing it around. So you're pushing it at an angle. That's it. Good. That's it. Scoop yourself and just kind of swing it around. You'll feel like he's falling just a little bit. That's okay. And then swing it back towards you. And just roll it back. Now we're going to put the leg behind us. And lift it up and pull it down one more time. Get the behind the foot. Wrap. And the other hand goes underneath. Now we bounce. 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we press 1, 2. Then I turn and I walk up the person's back with my hands. With the foot behind my shoulder. Put the foot behind your shoulder. That's it. Get both hands up. And reach for the opposite hip. Pull the opposite hip. That opens the person up in a very nice way. We usually don't mind this at all. And then come back. And we'll one more time lift. And we'll turn the foot to the horizontal. And there's one more reach. Reach for the opposite leg. Have you done that yet? No? Well, let's start now. I'll reach for the opposite leg. And I slide. I don't lift up straight. I swing around. And I push. And then once I've swung around, I want to get the person back on the table, so I grab right in front of the hip, right below the hip. This is called the dwelling in the bone place between the hip bone and the leg bone. And I curve the leg up, and I push this down. And notice it comes pretty much back on the table. You okay?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Right to this area here. So you can do a lot of work on the person in these positions, oddly enough. They don't usually mind it. And then you bring it back. And return it to the table.
Back on the table.
And in between, I'm always doing little light cranes, or I'll do the stretches, and just a few other feels like. That's it. Pull right at the hip. Swing it up. That's it. Right up. Very good. That's it. Very good. And bring it around and just pushing down. We have one arm left. Good. Let's find that remaining arm. Brush it down. We're almost done with the archer next. That's the best part. People on the table going, oh no. So you see he's trying to get away. You feel that. After you've brushed it down a few times, we're going to be doing just the moves. So shake the arm. We're going to start off by that chop, 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 chop. So I have to do some anna and some mo-na. Come right up to the shoulder, and we're going to do that. Cha, 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 cha. Squeeze onto the elbow. Cha, 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 cha. Squeeze onto the wrist. Cha, 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 cha. Squeeze onto the fingers. Cha, 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 cha. Intertwine your fingers with theirs. up and down, 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 and side to side. Side to side, to side, to side, side to side, to side, side, side. Then slide in and back. Slide in and back. Slide in and shake back. And after you've done that 4 or 5 times, then we twist the hand under and up, and under and up. You'll speak now. Yes, under and up. So sometimes I put both hands there to make sure that it's not too extreme for the person. I do this normally, but I'll cover it. So one hand acts as I cover this pop. Now then the wrist. One hand under the other. Thumbs at the base of the wrist, which is where we'll find the source points in acupressure. Up and down, 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 side to side, to side, to side, side to side, to side, to side, side to side. Slide it on the table up to the armpit. Slide and shake. Slide and shake. And one more. Slide and shake. Reach under with one hand. The other hand slides down and twists the wrist. Grab with the other hand. Slide and twist.
Remember that tendon?
Oh, this hand.
No, this one.
Yeah, that hand. And just twist. Very good. Now we go to the elbow. That's right. Now we lift the elbow, one hand underneath, other hand on top of it, thumbs on either side of the tip, up and down, up and down. You feel all that area, lots of muscles and tendons. And side to side, to side, to side, side to side, to side, to side, side to side. Press in, pull out, and press in, pull and shake, press in, pull and shake. And one final, press and shake. Reach under with one hand, the other hand slides down and pushes the elbow, twists. Reach under with the other hand, slide and twist. Notice how you can get a real good hold of that hand there? You really got the right grips. Good hands. Now to the armpit. Up and down, 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 up and down. Side to side, to side, to side, side to side, to side, to side, side to side. Press in and away, press in towards their neck, press in and out, and in and out, and in and out. Very nice. Slide the hand underneath. Now the other hand slides down and pushes as you pull with the lower hand. Shake. One hand goes underneath, slide and pull. And now we're going to do just the new move. The upper hand goes underneath the armpit, onto the back. The other hand comes across, and we make an arm bar. Good. Bounce it. We're going to go into the 4 corners. 1, come off to the side and bounce. Tap your toes and tap your toes and move from side to side to side. Go side to side. Now come up towards the head. Put your foot in. Good. Good. Put your other foot underneath the shoulder and pull them right up onto your foot. That's an extra little bit of leave.